Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vace. I just landed in Dallas, Texas for the BitBlock Boom Conference. As you guys know, I normally do Airbnbs. It was more convenient this time to stay at a hotel, and I was being very lazy. Usually try to provide nice scenery or a lobby or, outdoors by the pool or something. Not today. I'm last night ran a little bit late, a lot of partying. I'm sure you guys saw it on all over my Twitter and other people's Twitter. So that's what happens at certain when certain after parties get a little out of control. But it was a lot of fun. I had a great time in Toronto, and now it's time for another conference here with the Bitcoin Maximalists. So we're gonna stick to the new format of having co-hosts, bringing on other traders. I'm gonna try and basically introduce you to a bunch of people that I've seen around the web on Twitter. Also, people that people recommend because, as you guys know, I don't really pay attention to other traders, but maybe it's time I start. So let's bring them on the show one by one, and I get their views, and so do you. So for this show, I am joined by Big Chonis. You'll know him from Twitter as Big Chonis. That's his biggest platform, and also a YouTube channel with weekly videos. Hey, Chonis, how are you, man?
Hey, Tone. How's it going? Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Hello, everybody.
Good. So Chonis came to Unconfiscatable in Vegas. This took place in January. What did you think about that conference, man?
Listen, it was a great time. I think the poker tournament was just awesome. Great way to interact with a lot of people.
You played, right?
I played.
How'd you do?
I got a straight flush, was my best hand.
Wow.
And I was about 10 away from the final table, so 10 away from the money. But it was exciting. I think I busted out a few known names, but it was a great opportunity to meet a lot of people that are really excited about Bitcoin in the space. Opportunity to fly out to Vegas, of course, and to meet you, and really I was also honored to have an opportunity to meet Tyler as well.
Yeah, so sad that we won't be able to learn from him any further. I don't know, is it public where you're based? Countries, state, if you're in the US, or you like to keep your anonymity, which is a good idea, by the way. I wish I followed that rule when I joined YouTube.
Sure, I like to travel a lot, but I'm from and based out of New England, US of A. But I'm actually looking forward to doing some traveling in the next few months and potentially overseas as well.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. And let me go back to dual mode, and I'm gonna kick off screen share with, oh wait, I don't know what I'm doing. And yeah, so here's your Twitter. Here's Chonis Trading Twitter handle, Big Chonis. You're at 40,000 followers. You've been charting for a while. We'll get a little bit on your charting history, actually, because it's kind of important. And your YouTube channel right here, Chonis Trading. Slowly but surely, we all get up there. And I remember when I was getting my first 1,000 subscriber, that was same thing with 1,000 Twitter follower. I remember those days as well. Hey, so tell us about your background in trading, because I find this very, very important. And when did you start? What year? How did you learn? Did you have mentors? How did you get into trading and into technical analysis versus fundamental analysis? What's your general philosophy, and how did you get here?
Great, sure. So I have always been interested in the stock market ever since I saw Wall Street and Boiler Room and stuff like that. But I really didn't get into trading, at least day trading, until about 2013. Totally entered it as a complete noob, didn't know technical analysis, didn't really know what I was doing. All I knew was that I had some hard-earned money that I wanted to play around with, to invest with, and got into OTC penny stock trading, which was kind of my first adventure into day trading, and just happened to get into it at a very interesting time. It was the latter part of 2013. The OTC penny stocks, there was a marijuana stock boom that was happening, where when Washington State and Colorado went legalized in the US, A lot of these real crappy fake pink sheet OTC companies became, you know, marijuana, cannabis related companies overnight, and their you know, their stocks started to just skyrocket. And it was my first experience in trading, and what I walked into was parabolic moves, a bull market where putting a few $100s to play turned into thousands of dollars very quickly, totally not knowing what I was doing, but was riding a wave. And everything was great. I thought trading was extremely easy and easy money, quick money. And I thought I was the king of the world until, like all parabolic moves and bull markets, it popped. The top was in. A few of my stocks that I was into got suspended by the SEC, and they would learn the hard way how that can basically happen and what that can entail. And then, like, you know, all new traders, when they see they made a lot of money on paper, and then everything starts to fall apart, they say to themselves, okay, well, maybe the next time it reaches that amount, that valuation, then I'll sell. Or if I just add a little bit more money, maybe dollar cost average, double down, then I don't have to wait till it gets to that point, and then I'll sell. And did all the noob mistakes in the book, and but promised myself that I would, you know, use it as a learning experience, and train myself on just TA. Looked at some books, but mostly I'm a visual learner, so I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and just through literally watching charts day in and day out for several years, became a lot more accustomed to the organic flow of chart patterns and stuff. I bought my first Bitcoin in the end of 2016. Reason being, I was trying to purchase something from the UK. None of my credit cards were working. They accepted Bitcoin, and I went on to Coinbase, paid all the fees, and bought my first Bitcoins. Transferred some of that to purchase this product, and in the process of that transfer, the price had dropped, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't send us enough Bitcoin." That was my first Bitcoin transaction experience. Didn't really get a lot of Bitcoin. Actually, it was Litecoin that was the first kind of larger position I had in crypto. And what I was seeing in the latter part of 2017 was extremely similar to what I experienced in the OTC markets in the late part of 2014, 2013, and early 2014. Parabolic moves, overnight wealth that seemed to just be just incredible. And, you know, I promised myself that this time I would do it right, that I wouldn't lose all my money again, that I would take profits along the way, and that I would know that when I felt the top was in, I wouldn't keep, you know, putting money into something that, you know, the bubble had burst. So I came a little better equipped in terms of being able to trade the Bitcoin market post 20,000 Bitcoin, and have basically been playing that ever since. Now I mostly do short-term scalping, leveraged, short and long, and have every once in a while I'll do some longer-term swing and longer-term positions, mostly based on higher time frame charts.
All right, Chonis, I'm sorry, man. So while the entire time you were speaking, I had to figure out what the hell is up with YouTube, because they like changed everything in the Creator Studio, and it's a piece of shit. I'm trying not to curse as much. And the stream that I tweeted out earlier is not the link we are streaming on. So I have deleted that tweet, and I have sent out a new tweet with the new stream, and we also have a new live chat, and I'm gonna send that over to you as well, because this is just garbage YouTube. Like it's bad. Like honestly, like they need to bring that functionality back, because if I can't tweet out the link to where I'm streaming ahead of time, that's a problem. Then I can't give anyone the heads up, and then I have to tweet it out after I go live, and kind of busy live streaming. Anyway, okay, we are back to 600 live viewers. Yeah, sorry about that, guys, but like, go yell at YouTube. They're ridiculous. All right. So yeah, the world of penny stock trading is interesting, right? So people in crypto think that, you know, there's no such thing as 1,000% returns in traditional markets. No, no, no. Go trade penny stocks because there are lots of securities out there that are worth 0.003 cents, and they can go up 1,000% in a matter of a month, mostly due to pumps and dumps, which again is very reminiscent of the crypto space. All right. Let's go over the charts. I'm still angry at YouTube, but anyway, that's my Twitter. Before we go over the charts, I'm probably going to come back to this. Let me just load my website, tonebase.com, guys. If you want to support this channel, please check out the affiliates page. And on the affiliates page, there is Bitcoin Live, which you're a contributor there, correct?
Yep, I put out content weekly on Bitcoin Live. I've been with them for about a year. I'm also working on a couple more things I'm hoping to announce in the coming weeks.
All right, cool. And I have lots of affiliates here, including eToro and LVL. If you are a US, well, eToro is both US and overseas. So is LVL, US and overseas. Deribit is not for US and other customers, so please check out their terms of service and, of course, others. Anyway, I'll talk about the conference a little bit later. All right, let's go to the charts. Since it's your first time on the channel, we have to talk about the big picture first. Let's talk about I recently started using Heikinashi, but only for the monthly chart. I'm still not, I'm still kind of new to the Heikinashi charts. I just know that with one of my favorite indicators, the TD Sequential, it has been acting a lot better throughout the history of Bitcoin. So I will stick to Heikinashi for the monthly level.
Yes.
As far as my outlook on a monthly chart, it is still bullish to me, and we could have, 3 to 4 more months of upside, and the moving averages that I use are doing well. What is your view on the monthly scale Bitcoin outlook going forward? And what do you think of Heikinashi candles? They are new to me.
Sure. I do have experience in Heikinashi, which is more like you don't trade on the Heikinashi price. What you're really looking for is the candle shape. And more importantly, you're looking for that really tight doji candle that more often than not represents a change in trend. The monthly Heikinashi is definitely still in a bullish stance. We do have the upper wicks and the shaven bottoms basically of the candles over the monthly, and they're still green. Lower time frames, the Heikinashi definitely tells a little bit of a different picture. But listen, Bitcoin over 10K, it's hard not to be, bullish. The fact that we accelerated bullishly so quickly gives the price action a lot of running room on the downside, obviously to still keep that overall, bullish stance. What does concern me overall in the monthly, just basic candles, is this is our, third month of triple consecutive wicks, lower highs, major rejection at 13.8, major rejection at 13.1, and then a major rejection again at 12.3. So lower highs, closing monthly candles that are $1,000 off the highs of the month. It's still very reminiscent to the after effects of Bitcoin 20K so far, until proven otherwise.
All right. Yeah. So what you said in the beginning, so with Heikinashi, what you look for is the tight doji candles. And we had one, right there, the last red candle. Yep. After like 9, 10, 11, 12, after 14 months in a row of red candles. Had a nice doji, and we went up from there. You also see a beautiful doji, probably as doji as it gets, back in June 2015. And we had a couple of them, not a great dojis, but on the border of being dojis in August and September of 2016.
Yeah, normally those can represent a reversal, but having a back-to-back one there definitely shows that indecision. Remember, the Heikin-Ashi candle is formed by the previous candle's price action. So you're almost looking at the previous 2 months to create that current month's candle. But it's more effective, the Heikin-Ashi, for establishing overall trend and potential chances of reversal. You wouldn't really use it to scalp or day trade on, but I do like to refer to it to kind of you know reinforce my bias. If I'm feeling bullish or bearish, the Heikin-Ashi will lead me in whichever direction makes more sense there. But it's definitely a helpful use of the candles along with the overall candlestick.
All right, cool. Thanks for that. All right, let's move on to the monthly view. I've recently put parabolic SARs because of Tyler and Socrates, now that they've come up with the correct formula for the SARs. And we definitely, this month is looking very interesting. We're still halfway into the month. And the monthly chart, to me, has been neutral for quite a while. Ever since, again, I'm a sequential trader. Ever since the price flipped to a red one, we're now going on our 5th week of neutrality. Now, the moving averages are good. They're going up. We're above the, actually, the Fibonacci's on the other side, but we were on the verge of that 62% Fibonacci. It does look toppy here. It's the Bitcoin, to me, can still go 50-50. It can go 50-50. You almost have to trade on a lower level time frames and let the higher level time frames, like especially the weekly, actually pick a direction. Clearly consolidating at the top right now, because it's a red one this week. I will be leaning bearish going into next week, but in order to execute a trade, I would need a lower weekly low to do so. At the moment, the weekly chart is neutral. We're going to go, by the way, as the format goes, we're going to go through my charts first on Bitcoin, and then I'll hand off screen share to Chonis. All right, so that's basically my view on the weekly chart. Nothing has changed since the last time I did a video, and I think the price was similar to what it is now without the big volatility, which we'll get to on lower level timeframes. Comment?
Yeah, I agree. I think the weekly chart, because the monthly is still very bullish, the weekly is bullish but less bullish. So the EMAs I use, EMA 12, EMA 26. The EMA 12 for 4 of the 5 past weekly candles has been the backstop of support. We did break it intra-week this week, but have bounced quite above it there. And because we're holding, just even low time frame EMAs on the weekly, it's definitely still very bullish. We're still above the middle Bollinger. We're still above, any notable moving averages, 150, 200, still way above that. So, as I said earlier, because Bitcoin has been so bullish, it has time to go sideways / down and kind of allow these moving averages, EMAs, MAs, to slowly kind of catch up with the overall price action. And that might be necessary to kind of cradle any support on any meaningful dips. I mean, there's still running room on my moving averages to the mid 8,000s, and Bitcoin can still be in a very bullish stance, on the high time frame. The one thing that is kind of concerning to me on the weekly is just the overall volume seems to have topped, on our blow off top week of the last week of June. And ever since then, we've basically been putting in notably consecutive lower volume bars over the weekly chart. Now, this could just be consolidation. This can just be lack of selling, as we're still able to maintain above $10,000. But it doesn't feel like there's any, major new real capital that's flowing into Bitcoin. I think people are still trying to wait to see if they can, buy it at a lower price. And because It's been so bullish, there could be running room to that lower price before a more meaningful uptrend can continue. But we've already hit the 35% retrace or so overall. So we've kind of done the retrace that we had seen so many times in the 2017 bull market. So this is the area where we should continue to consolidate, hold above, continue to hold these higher lows, 9,000, 9,100, and now the bounce today at 9,400. As long as that holds, then we can retest 11K and beyond. But if we start losing the 9K area, I think that opens up a whole new path to lower prices.
All right. No, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, I think we'll talk more about that when we get to the daily chart. Actually, let's just go straight to the daily chart. I restarted my computer, so I have the indicators. The CMF is pretty bullish. That's a good sign for Bitcoin at the moment. The TD sequential, for me, the setup trend line has held, at least for today. When I was going to sleep last night or waking up, it was actually a similar hour. But it's yeah, the parties ran really late last night, and then I had to get on a plane. I really thought that this thing was in trouble, and then there was a swift rebound. And but the setup trend line is still holding, and that was a big rebound. It's going to be hard getting to a daily 9 because we're going to have to close below a daily 5 candle, and that's going to be very, very interesting, because that means we would have to close later this week or going into next week at sub $10,000, and right now we're back to 10.4. Now the daily tops on a 9, which is good. I really thought this could have been the rebound back to new highs. It was not the case. You realize that fairly quickly, and now we are heading all the way back down. This is a pretty good candle. We'll only have a few hours to go. It's a very strong candle, and that can certainly rebound the market back to the highs. I like the fact that this is clearly a higher low with a higher intraday low versus other swing lows. Clearly a higher closing low versus other closing lows. So that's a good sign, but still not definite. As a short-term day trader, you probably could have timed it. We're going to look at lower-level time frames. But looking at it on a daily, we're not out of the woods yet, right? We made a lower high, and now we made a higher low. So we kind of have to wait and see how it develops. We're clearly in a channel. I almost want to say I'm neutral right now. The sequential is bearish, but the candle is bullish. The price action is bullish. We're going to talk more about volume when we get to the market cap and Bitcoin dominance section of this show. And my view right now is I would wait on a daily time frame to at least recapture the moving average. I would wait for a price flip to a green 1, and then wait for a green 2 to break the green 1 above the moving average in order for me to be bullish on the daily time frame. In a perfect world, that takes place at around $11,000. Your view on the daily time frame, Chonis?
This candle looks great so far. It's kind of the bottom hammer you're looking for on a reversal candle after so many days of red. I really want to make note of the TD9 that kind of started the downtrend. That when you have a 9 candle with a candle formation of a hanging man candle, it's kind of a double whammy there. To have the 9 with a shaped candle such as that was a very clear sign that that the rejection was in, and that the short was the trade from that. It's funny, the 1 hour candle that literally marked the top at 13.8 was the exact same one. It was a hanging man candle at the top of a trend. So that's very consistent with what we're seeing there. In terms of the overall equilibrium, as I said, we are still holding the higher low. We're also still in the lower high. So whatever bounce this creates, 12.3 really is that target you want to put in, break in, and get you to that higher high in the price action. I agree the CMF actually looks a lot better than it did back at the end of July. It had broken below the zero line, had kind of a double bottom there, but kept very close to that zero line and has rebounded pretty strong. So the daily CMF is very good. The higher time frame CMFs are actually, well, the weekly is pretty good, but the monthly is terrible. So, and then on the daily, yeah, I mean, this, as I said, this is the kind of hammer you'd want to see for a trend reversal. We are also, if you look at the daily Heikinashi, we're still in a very, red bar pattern. And the way that the Heikinashi works is the lower the wicks are on the red candles, the more bearish it is. The higher the wicks are on the green candles, the more, I don't say bullish, but the more range of bullish price action is what you're seeing there. So the daily is still showing bearish on the Heikinashi, and I think what's actually interesting, you go to the weekly chart, the Heikinashi says a couple interesting things here. We're actually looking at kind of remember I said we want to see that doji, or at least that very tight bodied candle. And on the weekly, we kind of had, the week before last, we were able to see that tight candle followed by the bullish bounce after 3 weeks of bearishness. Now we're back to a very similar kind of long-legged doji. So if this week ends up looking very like the current formation of this candle, I would honestly see that as another reversal after a bullish week. So I would be looking for this as a reversal back to more of a bearish stance if the weekly Heikinashi basically ends like this. And so yeah, getting back to the daily though, and just the regular candle patterns there, we can close out our daily in about an hour and a half, looks like, with this very nice looking hammer. I definitely see, a retest of the MA50, which is up about 10.8 as, a viable target, as the MA50 has been acting as support and resistance along the way. I do have the middle Bollinger also around the 10.7 area, so there is some confluence there. And lastly, the 10.7 to 10.9 area was kind of that last area where we wicked out from back on July 20th, where we found resistance, turned into support, back to resistance now. So any advance to 10.7 and 10.8 will probably be seen with some very strong resistance, and could be a defining point to see if this bounce has legs to retest up to the $12,000 area.
All right, just a quick peek at the 12-hour chart. I haven't really been paying too much attention to it lately. Nice hammer candle on the 12-hour chart, again, holding the setup trend line. We just pierced the setup trend line last time, and we created a new one right around the same price. And again, strong bounce. If you are a 12-hour trader, you can, I mean, according to Sequential, there's still more downside, but according to candles, which I find more critical than the Sequential, that's a reversal candle, bounced off an area of support, and you're currently trading a little bit above it. Unless you have a comment on a 12-hour, I want to move on to 4-hour.
No, I agree. The 12-hour, that's a nice, candle you're looking for, and the follow-up is definitely what you want to see after that bottom hammer, though. So everything right now looks like Bitcoin wants to continue higher. The close of this 12-hour candle in an hour and a half will definitely tell a lot, but hard to see how this pulls back tremendously in that next hour and a half.
Yeah, nothing on this chart has changed. I still like this green line as being very critical. If we can get above this green line, I anticipate us going higher to the $12,000 high. And if we can break that, then I anticipate us to go a lot higher. But until we break that green line, the odds favor getting back to the lows. And once we do, look out below. 4-hour chart. I want to see if yeah, the oscillators are okay. I like the RSI here actually, and the MACD, both crossing over with plenty of room to go. And the CMF is not looking very good. We did not bottom on any 9s. This was a 4 on a setup and a 5 on the countdown. This candle would have caught me by surprise. I would have anticipated this to keep falling according to the 4-hour chart and all the other charts, right? The 12-hour was on a 5, the daily was on a 6, and the weekly was on neutral. So what does that mean? If I was in this trade, that means there is no way at the moment, we'll see what happens on a lower level time frame, but if I was in this short trade, I would have had absolutely no reason to take profit. And what that means is somewhere on this rally, I'm getting my stop loss hit. When we go below 10,000 all the way down to 9,500, if I was a trader, I guarantee you I'm lowering that stop loss to somewhere below 10K or just above 10K to give it room to bounce up to 10K. There's no way in hell I'm holding this thing past 10,050 bucks. And because so far none of these time frames gave me any reason to take profit, that means if I was in this swing trade from the $11,000 area when the daily short trade reactivated over here on a red 4 at 11,200, it means that I, as a trader, would have had my stop loss hit around 10,050 bucks, maybe 10,100 on the way back up. And it really depended on how much I was watching the lower level time frames. Could have got out earlier, but my style of trading would not have had me exiting at 9,500. I did not have a reason to do so. According to my rules, I would let the stop loss do the work. The 4-hour chart is clearly bullish, but about to go into an area of resistance at 10,530. Your thoughts on the 4-hour chart? But first, tell us, Chonis, if you even like the 4-hour chart, and is this something you trade? And what is your favorite time frame and candles to trade? Oh, you're muted.
So if I'm scalping, quick scalps, and the way my philosophy of scalping works, and again, this is my own personal style, is when I'm scalping, I like to base my entries and exits on profit versus more on profit versus specific price levels. I try and get between $100 and $300 of profit per Bitcoin leveraged, long or short. I do want to make comment on the 4-hour. Oh yeah. So when I'm scalping, it's the 5-minute and the 15-minute. I kind of use both of those. Look for divergences on the RSI. Look for divergences on the OBV, and kind of make my my decisions based on that. I do a few rules on when I'm scalping. Just one brief rule is with the 15-minute stochastic RSI. I never short when the stochastic RSI is bottomed out, and I never long when the 15-minute stochastic RSI is topped off. It's just kind of a risk versus reward thing I've kind of learned to keep me disciplined in my trade so I don't FOMO into a pump or a dump and kind of wait for my best R versus R. Overall, when I'm analyzing a chart, the 6-hour chart is kind of my go-to time frame. I quantify if I feel Bitcoin is in bullish or bearish trend. By the way, the EMA 12 and 26, which are my go-to EMAs, how they are interacting with each other, how they're swimming with each other. Are they in a bull cross? Are they in a bear cross? And also importantly is their spacing. I notice on the 6-hour,
hey, Charles, let me hand off screen share to you, and you can actually show it on. Sure. So I don't have anything else to say on a 4-hour.
I'll make one comment on the 4-hour if I could, since you just had it there.
This is a 6. Hold on.
Okay, I go to the 4 second. The blue line you have, is that the MA200?
It is.
Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart, for some reason, always interacts with the MA200. There are several examples where it is founded as resistance, notable wicks and support, notable wicks. And the most recent, Bitcoin broke down through it. We have back-to-back 4-hour candles where it tried to get back above and got rejected. The last one almost on the penny. So I would see if we can keep rising up to the 10.5s, and I'd be curious to see how the price action responds to the MA200 touch, because it seems to be on the 4-hour. It's something about the MA200 that Bitcoin likes to really play around with. And if we are rejected on the MA200 on this 4-hour, then I would definitely increase my bearish bias.
All right, cool. So right before I'm going to hand off charts to you, just want to go over to tonevase.com. Obviously, check out the affiliates page if you guys want to support my work and this free YouTube channel. Workshops, the workshop tomorrow in Dallas, Texas here. You can probably still register, obviously your last day, because the workshop is tomorrow. And then I will be doing an equity on options. I mean, I'm going to teach you options. It says equity options, but there's certainly options on Bitcoin, Ledger X, Deribit. So there are ways to trade options on Bitcoin. So this is introduction to options. And of course, the conferences, the Financial Summit. Please check that out, guys. This is happening in Bali. It is absolutely going to happen. It's an all-inclusive resort for traders. There is an educational component, but my goal is to try to connect traders that are looking for capital to trade with hedge funds that have capital, looking for talented traders and trading ideas. These are the guys that will be there. Read their profiles. So check that out. And Unconfiscatable is coming back in October. You can also check that out at conferences, unconfiscatable.com. All right. The calendar. I mean, I can talk about this website all day. Obviously, the calendar, I'm here in Texas for Big Black Boom. And you can check out where I'm traveling to next. It'll be the Black Blockchain Summit in DC, then Latvia, other countries in Europe, Prague, and then October gets very, very interesting. Lots to do there. This is in Romania, and then UK, and then the Bali event, and Singapore, then Greece, and then I'm in Portugal, and then God knows where else. All right, I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'm going to hand it over to Chonis. Oh, still muted. You don't have to mute, by the way, unless you want to, but like I don't have any feedback coming from you. So.
All right, no, I just want to clear my throat. How do I get my screen share on here? What is this? Share, there we go.
Okay. That was like the 4-hour, and it is.
Okay, good. All right, so yeah, I was talking about the 6-hour. So, all right, so notably right now, what we're seeing is as I said, I like to use EMA 12, EMA 26, because we cross bearish here, they're flipped. So the EMA 12 is the first EMA that would hit resistance. And we are literally wicked out to the penny on the EMA 12. What I like to do is a little trick I learned. I like to hide the price action and just keep the moving averages. And what you see on, this is just a 6-hour chart, is you see we tend to do kind of a mirror image when we're bullish and then the bearish kind of reset in terms of how spaced out the EMA 12 is from the 26 on the bullish side, and then when they crossed, how far below the EMA 12 is from the 26 on the bearish side. So there's a lot of similarities between the spread on the bullish side, bearish side, bullish side, bearish side, bullish side. And if you just showed me these moving averages without the price action, based on how spread they are on the 6-hour, I would be looking for a long based on the fact that the spread is telling me that we're in an oversold condition on the 6-hour moving averages. So that's kind of how I use those.
have you considered just building an indicator along the bottom that just tracks that, and then you just it just notifies you based on how high that spread gets?
That is a great idea. I've actually been approached many times, people that want to build me indicators. So that would be one of the things I would like to kind of have on my thing here. Because you're right, that would definitely show me with an oscillator or a line, basically, when the spread is in the extreme. And we tend to see that when we go in a certain bullish pattern with a spread, we tend to reciprocate on the bearish side. But also what I also tend to see is it's something called like the double tap, which is when we're going bearish and it looks like we're about to cross bullish, it always seems to be kind of like the first attempt is always a fake out, and there's normally a rejection, very similar to here. So when we actually had the bull cross after the first fake out of the bull cross, the second one tends to be a lot more accurate, basically in its flow, but basically that it's a longer term trend change pattern there. So my go-to for this is the 6 hour in terms of my overall bias. Because we're in a bear cross and because we're finding EMA resistance, I will be, this is still bearish in terms of the setup here over the next several 6 hour candles. If the EMAs can get closer together and the price action can still be hovering around this 10.3 area, I would then begin to target my EMA 26 as my next area to target along on, and where I would expect initial resistance on. This EMA pattern, from the way the price reacts with it, as I said earlier in the show, has been very accurate on the weekly chart, where 4 weeks out of 5 here, the one not being obviously the bullish when we were much above it, touched it to the penny, to the penny, to the penny, and then finally this week broke through, but is now, again, once above. So I look at this two ways. I'm bullish on the weekly chart because of near-term EMA 12 support continues to hold. Bitcoin continues to be able to bounce when it's touched, or so far this week, intra-week, when it broke, now much above. If we put in a weekly closing candle below the EMA 12, which would be under $9,800 right now, then I could basically target my EMA 26 as the next area to target support. We did see a version of this in the 3-day, where once the EMA 12 failed to hold support, the 26 was the backup. And as you can see, multiple 3-day candles, it did find support to the penny, to the closing candle, very nice bounce off of it, and once again still holding here. So lower time frames, we're seeing the EMAs cross bearishly. 3-day and actually daily and higher, we are still bullish, and that's kind of what brings me to the daily chart here. Is, we were very bullish. This bear cross, July 20th, of our EMAs on the daily, this was a great sign that we were going very bearish, because this was our first bear cross on those EMAs all the way since February. And that February bull cross, if you had just stayed in your long from that cross, a couple times here we were close, but that cross has held from February all the way to this July 20th bear cross. And sure enough, that was at 10.7. And after that cross, we went as low as 9.1 there. So that was almost a $1,700 drop after that bear cross. We reestablished our bull cross, and now this is kind of the next big test here. If we can continue to remain our bullishly in our cross here, then, with a little kind of a ricochet maybe, then we can keep that bullish sense of our daily EMAs intact. But if we cross again on the daily, then that's, another high time frame that we're seeing that bearish EMA setup, and that basically would bring a lot of more credence to kind of the bearish outlook here. Overall, though, as you can see, we are still holding this this pennant let me go to the log scale here. This pennant on the daily, I can even check out, a 3-day here. And what I find interesting is this pennant has a bull trap wick, and now we've just established a bear trap wick. So here's our pennant. We break it on the upside, and you get that little FOMO wick, and that turns out to be the top. And then so far, we broke that pennant support. That pennant support was started back here in early June, where we found support on it many times and accelerated very quickly off of it. Touched it here at July 28th, the 9-1 touch. You probably had people setting stop losses on the break of this pennant around 10-7. So you stop them out. And this turned out to be, right now, so far at least, a bear trap. Now, if we can maintain our equilibrium here, we're looking at our next resistance somewhere around 11.3 or 11.4, which would still keep this overall pennant intact. But the closer we get to our apex here, which could take us into early September, the more I feel we're poised to break it and either establish a resistance turn support or support back tested and confirmed as resistance. So I think we're getting a lot closer in the next week or two to a much more meaningful move in Bitcoin's price action after this long consolidation period. And pretty much by then, I would say the consolidation would allow our moving averages to get close enough to the price action to where if Bitcoin really is very bullish as it seems and is going to reattempt a retest of 13.8 and potentially even all-time high levels, it would need to basically establish that in the next few weeks with a break of this line, maybe a pullback of support, and then that advancement there. If this does the bearish scenario here and 10K becomes major resistance, that lower price action targets are definitely more in play. But as we get tighter in the equilibrium, time is running out for that decision point in the chart to be made. I want to make if I could, just a quick point here.
One quick question. Are you, at the moment, are you leaning on one of those versus the other? Or are you truly just don't care and waiting? Or do you have, let's say, hey, I know I'm 55% leaning to the downside, or, whatever your percentage is?
Today, I will say I'm leaning more towards the bearish for a few reasons. Even though we're in the pennant here, we are basically retesting for a triple test, the mid 9Ks. Yes, we are holding an overall higher low, but I don't like triple tests. They tend to break down, whether it's a bullish of an ascending triangle or a bearish of like triple test, and then finally it fails. After 3 times where Bitcoin has given the market the opportunity to purchase Bitcoin, let's say just under 10K, do I see this as the last chance to buy Bitcoin under 10K? Or do I see this more as another opportunity to sell Bitcoin over 10K? I will choose the latter for that. Also, for the fact that the RSI being under 50 and just overall putting in these lower highs and lower lows seems to be continuing to weaken. And because the RSI overall is putting in these lower peaks, I do see the overall oomph, the overall strength of Bitcoin that has basically played out since March, April, continues to decline. And that is basically seeing that also in the volume price action as well. We are, seeing the stochastic on the daily beginning to reset in our lower price action. This still has running room to the downside, but because we've come straight down so quickly in our stoke, I wouldn't be surprised if we hover in this area to find try and build, a level area of support. MACD, we're in the bear cross, we're in the negative histogram, and but we're still in the positive in both of our indicators here. So we're in, I hate using the term no trade zone, but as we get closer to this apex, for me, this does become more of a no trade zone, because the break of this apex will be I feel, a very trend-setting move that will last for days and weeks. So if you're just patient and see which way this ends up breaking, more often than not, that trend will be one that plays out over a longer term, swing trade or day trade versus just a quick scalp trade. I'm looking at scalp trading here because that's kind of the style I'm working with right now until more of a notable direction comes in. I'm more bearish on lower time frames. I'm still bullishly optimistic on higher time frames, but we're halfway through the monthly candle. This is our third triple wicker here. So in 15 days, if Bitcoin closes over 10.8 and we get kind of the bullish engulfing of last month's candle body with more of a spinning top than a upper wick here, I'd be more leaning towards the positive and the bullish sense here. I really like using the Bollinger Bands as well to set my bias. I have a few thoughts on that. The biggest one basically being that for 3 months in a row, we're rejecting on the upper BB here. And this becomes notable to me because it just feels like the price action is really beginning to hit this line more accurately with the lower lows. I also find it notable that for the first time in years, we have a negative or a downward sloping middle Bollinger. We've never had that. I'm on Coinbase here, but I guess I could go to BLX, and you can basically see going, all the way back, like since.
Well, the middle Bollinger Band is traditionally just a 20-period moving average.
Right. But the fact that since literally 2015, it's been in an maybe early 2016. It's just been an uptrend. We haven't had a downtrend in it since summer of 15. So for almost 3.5 years, it's been on a constant uptrend. And we're finally, after 3.5 years, have a downward slope on that. The thing about the monthly Bollingers is that they're still incredibly wide. They basically are they come in a little bit, obviously, from Bitcoin 20K, but they're still incredibly wide. And if I project this over the next year, I can see Bitcoin consolidating in this range of, under 11K, finding maybe support initially on the middle BB, which is around 7K, and allowing the monthly Bollingers to really tighten up as they are still historically incredibly wide.
Yeah.
Also,
on that thought, sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. So we have a couple of questions in the audience, and I would like to know myself. So 3 questions. I guess I'll ask them one at a time. What % chance would you give for Bitcoin to fall below $7,000 going forward?
For Bitcoin to fall below 7,000, I would give it an 85% chance that Bitcoin will definitely be in the 7Ks again. Yes.
Okay. What about like dip below 7K? So we're talking like even 6.9.
And I think it will happen before the halving.
Right. I agree with that part. So would you lower that? Maybe 70-75% chance we go into the 6K something.
I think the 6Ks and the history we have there from all of 2018's price action and the descending triangle finding support at 6K. I just feel the way we blew past it so effortlessly, and then just kind of had that little quick flash crash, down to it that pumped up there. I just feel there's kind of that gap of history there that is still kind of yearning to be filled. And I also reference just kind of overall here the fact that we have such limited price action, at these levels here. If you look at the whole history of Bitcoin from a dollar volume, standpoint, most of the money is really sub 7K basically in the 6K range and lower. That's its current historic base of long-term support. What's so interesting about the price action in the bull market we've had of 2019 is that if you basically started trading Bitcoin or started to go long this year, up until the the most recent month or so, it's been easy. It's just been straight up, price action here. So that there's a new crop of traders that really haven't known, a bear market if you come into Bitcoin in 2019. So those people, they need to feel some hurt. They need to feel
we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. I don't think those people exist, but we'll discuss that in a few.
Sure.
All right, so you're looking at high probability of low 7,000s. That's what you're aiming for.
I am very convinced that the middle Bollinger on the monthly chart will be tested at support at some time. Currently it is at 7K and slightly falling.
Got it. All right, so two more. So on the flip side, what is your probability that we go to a new all-time high this year?
Before the halving.
Well,
yeah,
specifically this year.
So before January.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I would put it at 35%. And I give it that, and I call that a high probability, even at 35% for two reasons. I agree with you and what you said in the past shows that the current state of the market doesn't seem, there's something off about it. The price action doesn't seem organic. I don't believe that this is new money coming into Bitcoin. If anything, it's just people unloading their alt bags, converting it to Bitcoin, being comfortable holding Bitcoin after doing that, and are now faced with the decision, do I convert to fiat? Do I convert to Tether? And I don't think we've reached that decision point yet. So far, Bitcoin has been the play, and altcoins have not. Bitcoin dominance continues to be very strong. And what happens when all that sucking sound of altcoins, everybody's Ripple bags and Lumen bags and ADA bags are converted to just straight up BTC, and there's no more money coming into BTC, and the Tether fairies can only do so much. What happens then? I don't think there's enough institutional coming in, and I sure as hell don't think there's enough just everyday retail money coming in. And at that point, who is there to buy Bitcoin? And that's when the bears can really assert and challenge lower prices.
Yep, I've been on that. I think I got on that specific bandwagon. I should have recognized it earlier. To me, this entire run-up has been the combination of altcoin exits and a little tiny bit of institutional investment. And I think Bitcoin is just too liquid to handle both of those things at the same time, and it pumped the price a lot. And markets generally top when there's nobody left to buy, not because of some, magic giant seller or short seller. All right, final probability question.
Sure.
What would you say that the price on January 1st or December, basically the end of year price, would be above or below $10,000? I have said repeatedly, I expect it to be below $10,000 at year end.
I think the only way Bitcoin is above 10K at year end is if we're looking at Dow 28,000, 29,000, S&P 3,200, NASDAQ 8,500. I think if the equities market continues to rip higher or can rip higher, I see that as more as a rip on and rising tide, and that will trickle into Bitcoin. I don't really see Bitcoin yet as a hedge against tumultuous equity markets, as a safe haven like the gold play might be yet. I think yesterday's dump in Bitcoin had a lot of correlation with yesterday's dump in the Dow. So if the Dow is strong, and if it looks like, and if it's strong, then there's a better probability of maybe the current political system staying put. then I could definitely see Bitcoin as an overall bullish continuation. If the Dow is weak, as you've said many times, people need to pay their bills, right? So if they sell their stocks, or if they don't have any more stocks to sell, they sell their Bitcoin to pay their bills. So a bullish equities market, I think, can continue to drive a bullish Bitcoin specific market, but the inverse would be on the bearish side as well.
All right, so I'll let you finish up your final thoughts on Bitcoin, then we'll move on to a couple of altcoins, maybe a few words about Bitcoin dominance, which we kind of already covered, and then we'll take a look at the S&P and maybe one or two stocks.
Sure. I think overall, my thought process, and again, this is kind of how each individual will trade the chart. There's lots of great opportunities for scalping. I believe your previous guest was talking about it's been very difficult to scalp this market on low time frames. We're getting a lot of stop out wicks, and I feel a lot of that is just based on lack of organic money flow. So because of that, this has been a much harder scalping market to trade. Overall, daily chart is still holding bullish with a higher low still intact. Overall, 3-day up to the weekly. From a consolidation standpoint, is still strong, even though the weekly candle is looking a little iffy. And I'm starting to get pretty bearish on the monthly candle. The last 2 weeks will be very telling to see what kind of month we're going to see in September. But if we close out this month with 3 very strong consecutive upper wicks in a row, I don't see this as consolidation before expansion. I see it more as rejection before testing these key areas here. And I think that's more of a possibility from a higher time frame standpoint, depending upon how we close out the month.
All right, cool. Oh, and one final comment before you hand over screen share back. You were using the 26 and the 12 exponential moving averages and looking for the difference between them. That is literally the default of one of the lines in the MACD indicator.
Yep.
So as it crosses the 0 line.
Yes, this is also
true. Several people pointed that out in the live chat.
This is also true. So again, it's one of those things where after staring at the screen for so many years and being so used to specific indicators and stuff, this is the style that I've just become accustomed to.
And I've trusted a lot. Like this is why I use white background charts, and people yell at me for it. But you know what? My ability to process information half a second faster is just more important.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. All right, you're on. Okay, you're good. All right, let me grab screen share back. Since I happen to be on my website, I don't mind shilling one more time. The financial summit for traders, potential hedge funds looking for good traders. And if not, traders will just collaborate and learn from each other. Check out the website, thefinancialsummit.com. I got the webinar here in Dallas, Texas tomorrow, and then the options webinar coming up next weekend. All right, let's jump over to very briefly. This is Bitcoin's total market cap. And again, I love how it's been reflecting these red arrows really, really well. And because of the altcoins, it's going to take us a while to get back to the all-time high of Bitcoin coming up. And the Bitcoin dominance chart is topping on a 9 right now. So I wouldn't be surprised for a little bit of a pullback. And however, the shitcoins like Ethereum, this is an ugly chart. I mean, do you trade altcoins at all? Have you traded altcoins? What's your view on altcoins in general?
So I'm a Bitcoin maximist. I agree with you that Bitcoin is the one, and that altcoins more or less are the shit coins that you call them. But that doesn't mean you can't make very good trades in them. I mean, Bitcoin has been very bullish and very great, but if you look at Bitcoin Cash ABC has had tremendous rips. Litecoin was bullishly diverging from Bitcoin for quite a while as it approached its own halvening. Overall, I think anybody that's a hodler of altcoins, anybody that uses the term, I believe in the project, and therefore the valuation of the token or the altcoin is X. Reminds me exactly of my OTC days and all the people that were saying stuff like, well, if you hold now over a year, you'll pay less in taxes, or the fundamentals of this project, or oh, I loved what their white paper said. It's very reminiscent of the OTC pump and dumps. And so far with the altcoins, literally across the board.
When you say OTC, you mean like pink sheets?
Pink sheets, yes, yes,
Yeah.
OTC market. So over across the board, we're seeing the altcoins play out like that, capitulate like that. And out of all the altcoins, I think Ripple still has the furthest to drop, just because of the amount of supply out there. I still can't believe it's still worth what, 18 cents.
No, I think it's 26 cents, but it did fall 20%
Yeah.
over the last couple of days. It's like the Ripple people. I mean, they're you know, I didn't know that IQ can skew that far to the left of the bell curve with the Ripple army.
They're very strong in their beliefs. And one thing I learned very clearly about OTC pink sheets was determining valuation based on supply. You know, the reason a stock is 0001 or, you know, a tenth of a penny is because there's probably billions and billions of shares out there available on the open market. Well, that's the same deal with like XRP. Why is XRP, you know, under a dollar and it's top 2, 3, 4 market cap, while Litecoin's $80, ETH is over 100, Bitcoin Cash is 300. It's because of their supply out there. Those coins have significantly less supply out there. So people that talk about Ripple being $100 or $500 would be trillions of dollars of valuation, and it just never kind of happened. So it's just one of those things that is so reminiscent of the pink sheets. Now, one thing I will say about Ethereum is that so many of those ICOs that dumped Ethereum back when it bottomed at around $80, they could be faced with a very similar situation again, where if ETH continues to bearishly diverge from Bitcoin, which you've been talking about for such a long time, they're going to be faced with, are they going to dump a lot of their ETH on the open market, you know, to raise actual capital, and that could put more downward pressure on Ethereum. So overall, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I think that's really the true one, and the one that will survive the longest, and one that will over time have the highest valuation. But that doesn't mean that you can't play altcoin moves and breakouts when they show. And lastly, I'll say that Bitcoin dominance has been hovering around 69, 70. Even if it falls, doesn't necessarily mean that's bullish for altcoins. They could still fall. Like if Bitcoin tanks, I don't see money then rushing into altcoins as a safe haven. You might see a little pump, but I almost see it as Bitcoin's tanks, altcoins will tank more, but at a slower rate, just because they're so beaten up. So Bitcoin dominance could drop, and altcoins could still drop with it, just not as much as Bitcoin could on a pullback. And then Bitcoin Cash, as you have up on the screen there, you know, this is another example where it's flirting in this range here of losing this consolidation and putting in a much more stronger bearish divergence to Bitcoin's price action. And the whole Bitcoin BCH ABC SV thing still has me confused as to how properly to evaluate the market cap of it. You there, Tone? Hey, everybody. Eerie silence. Looking for tone. Well, I'll do some talking here. Bitcoin consolidating around 10.3 here. Today's daily close is going to be very important. This is the Chone Show now. Hey, everybody. As I was saying earlier, it's hard to be bearish on Bitcoin when it continues to be above $10,000. Even though it's an arbitrary number, it seems Bitcoin seems to go above 10K, a little bit below. Just the fact that Bitcoin continues to hold above $10,000 with the higher low still intact, and today's so far holding bottom hammer, we could definitely see a little bit more of a relief as we head into the week, the end of the week here. But tomorrow's Friday. We still have 3 more days left to go in the week here. And on the weekly, we're putting in, bearish golfing. Our volume isn't that bad here, but we are starting to lose our momentum in our RSI and our stochastic here. The one shining light still remains our on-balance volume that continues to be quite strong in the overall sense of the matter here. And basically what that means is we're still seeing kind of this higher low in the overall volume continue. And I know, right? And now, and because of that, so far these dips have been continuously proven to be buying opportunities. So this dip to the $9,400, as I said earlier, I was really skeptical of the fact that for a third time we're retesting this, mid 9K area. But how many times can we test this area before it fails? And overall, where is this new money that's coming into the market? Institutional investors, they're not stupid. Maybe they were very smart when they were able to scoop up Bitcoin at 5K or lower there, but now as we're over $10,000, is this a value play? Is it a value area to have Bitcoin over 10K? And are you kind of see the fidelities of the market and whatever be willing to purchase Bitcoin for at this price level, or are they going to be a little more astute and wait for lower prices, which I feel will be available to us to purchase? And yeah, Wilco, I agree. There's just no new retail in the market. Hey, there he is.
I'm back. Yeah. So what happened was I don't like to use hotel Wi-Fi's, so I was tethered to my phone, and my phone died. So that means my computer doesn't have internet, and my phone died. So I couldn't even text you saying I'm gonna come back. So I had to just
I kept it going. It was all good. All good. All smooth.
Get my phone on charger, and the usual. My phone had to then do a system update. Jesus, because I've been delaying that for a couple of days. All right, but we are back. We're gonna finish up the show. I keep trying to get these to an hour, but they've been up to an hour and a half. So we got 15 minutes to go. Let me get back on the screen share. You've been watching the live chat, trying to get to a few questions, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we're just kind of rambling on here about my overall thoughts. And I think the biggest thing we talk about in the chat room here is just there is a sense that there's no new money, there's no new retail coming into the market.
I mean, like it's so easily provable. And I'll be the look, and this is how I usually say this. Look, I'll be the first to admit I have not done the best job of timing the market in 2019. It's actually been very disappointing. I'm very upset that I have not done a great job in timing the market the way I did in 2018, 17, 16, 15, and going back to when I was trading the market I was still trading in 2015, kind of stopped in the middle of 2016, like aggressively anyway. But having said all that, Twitter followers, YouTube followers, YouTube views, none of that is rising. And not just for me, for most people that have been around for 3 or 4 years, everything has stagnated. I don't see attendance at my workshops. There's no new people. Like everyone that shows up has been watching me for years. And I know, like, again, you don't have to watch me. There's way more YouTubers now, but like, I don't see new people. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree. And, I watched CNBC, and I honestly think they were a big reason why Bitcoin ended up pumping to 20K in the first place. Some of the guests they were having on talking about Bitcoin 100K and allowing that extra FOMO to put in. But as you mentioned on your previous shows, Google Trends is basically showing barely a blip in Bitcoin interest, how to purchase it. And I really think, and this has a very, again, similarity to what I experienced in the OTC market so many years ago, is a lot of people just got wrecked. They entered the whole market post Bitcoin 20K. They bought Ripple at $3. They bought Lumen at $1. They bought EOS at $19. They bought Litecoin at $250, and they just got destroyed.
Yeah,
And
no, somebody told me the other day their coworker bought 50 something $1,000 worth of Ripple at $3.
And that was because CNBC told them to. And you can't buy crypto on your Discover card anymore, which you could at the peak. So there's a lot of that happening, and I just think a lot of people got wrecked, left the market, and I think the only thing that's going to bring more organic money flow and price action into Bitcoin is just time passages, consolidation. People forget about it. They see it again. Oh, yeah, I remember that a few years ago. It was at 20 grand, and now it's, oh, look at that. It's cheap now, or it seems cheap. And then they start to dip their toe back in. So I really think just time is the biggest kind of obstacle towards all-time highs, organic all-time highs. And but historically, as we've seen, as we approach the halvening, Bitcoin tends to be in an uptrend as we get towards that halvening. Not necessarily bull market breakout uptrend, but the past bottoms have been in prior to those halvenings there. So if history is going to repeat, we need to bottom or get back down to 7K, maybe 6K, sometime in the next 4 to 5 months, and then have a good bounce, a higher low, higher than 3,500, and then go into May, where the halvening will take place in an uptrend, which would correlate with historically how it happens as we approach the halvening.
All right, so let's take a look at the traditional markets. I'm just going to comment real quick. The Ethereum chart looks ugly, but you want to wait till next week. You want to wait for that red 2 to go below the red 1, below the 9. And then here comes another countdown phase, which, again, could be very, very disastrous. I think Ethereum is in terrible shape versus Bitcoin. Litecoin is still on a 9. This is your, that's a really bad disaster line. That's a triple bottom, and you've heard us mention triple bottoms before. This is an epic triple bottom that I think will send Litecoin to new lows versus Bitcoin. Once it establishes price below this line, the way Ethereum established price below its triple bottom. And since Ethereum established the price at triple bottom, it has fallen 37%. And it doesn't look like it looks like it's just getting started. So if we take that to Litecoin, if Litecoin simply follows the Ethereum outlook, that's 37%. And I guess it doesn't look that bad on a chart. But so there it is. That's what you're looking at, 0.0043. So it's significant. Bcash is only establishing a double bottom, but its double bottom is at its all-time low, which is as bad as a triple bottom without yet having to go to all-time low. And not going to talk about that. Not much to say on gold. Looks good. Looks bullish. S&P. Sorry, guys. I had to sneeze. S&P, this is the 10-minute chart. I don't really want to look at that. The daily chart on the S&P. You know what? Today was a save day. This is what we call, damn, don't know why I'm sneezing. This is what we call a save day. Yesterday was a complete disaster, and it held today. That is a very, very, very good sign. The MACD continues to go down. The RSI hanging in there, but this is technically a higher low. I can even go ahead and draw a trend line here, and that looks very, very nice. That is a workable trend line, and while these two lows are very close to each other in time and very close to each other in price, until it's broken, we can be hopeful that this disaster will come to an end of the drop. But if we fall below this moving average and then below the setup trend line, look out below. Your thoughts on the general S&P, and then we have 5 minutes to look at a couple of stocks.
Sure. Overall S&P, I agree with what you're saying there. I mean, it just feels like this market turns on a dime whenever POTUS puts out a new tweet. And it seems like he's slightly capitulated to the Chinese, giving them the upper hand in the trade talks. And because of that, I think the U.S. is kind of at a weakened stance in this whole tariff war thing. I think the Fed is trying to figure out how it can, like, clearly it looks like it will be another cut in September. And overall world monetary policy is beginning to dictate what's going to happen here in the U.S. The Fed might need to step in not only with lower rates, but potentially a QE 4 or 5, what are we up to now? If things start to look bad. And the whole sense about the inverted yield curve signaling historically that a recession is in the months to come is playing out, this week. So we could still be in the very early stages of this very large topping pattern. And, as you've said before, you don't like triple tops. You like to see them as more of a consolidation before the breakthrough. But we've been in this, I don't think we've been in a bull market in the S&P for 18 months. We're basically at the exact same price we were a year and a half ago. So whichever way the market does turn, it should be pretty advanced. If we are able to break out, hold daily closes in the S&P above 3,000, off to the races we can go. Overall PEs are still extremely high. And I think that a lot of the pullback, a lot of the money has been pulled by a lot of these high flyers. And lastly, there was a comment in the chat referring to GE is Enron. Very shocking news on GE.
What happened? I have no idea what happened. Please.
So the math whiz who basically blew the whistle on Madoff was hired to look at the books of GE, and his conclusions, he was on CNBC this morning, are that GE is grossly over exaggerating its books, its cash on hand, and it has such an incredible liability when it comes to its retirees. And the way that the guest explained it was, this is twice as worse as Enron. And he used a time frame where I believe he mentioned Enron and WorldCom. Once the cat was out of the bag, it was a matter of weeks before they were in bankruptcy. So he's basically warning that that GE could be cash insolvent. And of course, they fought back vigorously in their statements, but the market really took this as a warning sign here. And to the tune that he said of almost 36 billion, they could be liable for without having that cash on hand. So this could be a very big story playing out since GE is a blue chip, right? The base, so goes GE, and GM, so goes the economy. So this is a big deal.
Yeah, that does sound like a big deal. Here's the daily chart. I wish I can tell you that the sequential would have been great. Not exactly. I mean, that's a gorgeous reversal candle right here. Nice strength the following day, and worth potentially buying GE for the upside. But here's the thing. The day before the big announcement, that is a candle that was supposed to stop you out of this trade. Yeah. It's a red one price flip after the 9, that did not follow through to the upside. Unfortunately for some, if you left your original stop loss at the doji's low, you got caught in the news event. I would have already raised my stop loss somewhere. There's no reason to leave it down there considering how much it went up in 2 days. So you have to raise that stop loss. There's a whole webinar that I have on entries, exits, and stop losses. Your stock goes up 7%, certainly the time to get that stop loss up. You should have, as a swing trader, there was a way to avoid this catastrophe. All right. Someone was asking you to pull up bear, but I don't know what that is actually. I'm not sure what stock that is, and I can't scroll back enough because my computer reset. So sorry, I didn't see an American stock bear. It was foreign stock, so I don't know if that's what you meant or not. You guys got to be more specific, and you got to provide the ticker. All right. Any stocks you want to look at real quick? We got like a few minutes.
I've been following the MJ, the marijuana sector a lot. They've been really taking a beating. Tilray, Canopy Growth.
Tilray's in trouble here. They're approaching a new low.
Yep.
People
don't realize these companies took out a tremendous amount of debt. These are very capital intensive operations, and they ran with the hype. There's a lot of Canadian publicly traded companies, tickers in an F, that are also in a similar boat, but more or less across the board, the marijuana, cannabis-based, higher market cap companies have been taking a beating.
Tesla doesn't look good to me at all. We have broken setup trend. We just got a red 2 below a red 1. Now, if the market can rebound from here, Tesla will be okay. But right now, this is not looking good for Tesla at all. I think it's unfortunate that the one candle was so big to the downside, but it is what it is. Tesla looks very, very bearish to me at the moment. I'm not going to say anything on Nvidia because earnings is going to be tonight or tomorrow.
They beat earnings. It broke bullish.
Oh, nice. All right, so we'll see how that is. And this is why no matter how bearish this chart looks, and it looks very bearish from a price perspective, your CMF is telling you a very different picture. This is interesting. Look how negative the CMF is all throughout the rally, and now how positive it is throughout the decline.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
I think the correlation in NVIDIA had a lot to do with just Bitcoin, graphics cards and everything. I think a bullish Bitcoin can equal a bullish NVIDIA. And that's interesting that over the past several weeks, it's seen the pullback, and literally it almost topped right when Bitcoin topped.
And yep, that's GE. Starbucks is hanging in there at the top. It doesn't even want to pull back. Wow. And Lyft and Uber will probably be, Square maybe. Not interesting. I wouldn't mess with Square at the moment. JMIA I was looking at. I was really hoping it would get, it did bounce pretty much off the sequential 13. I was hoping it would get to a 9 for a nice 999 buying opportunity. But looks like it's reversing now a little bit earlier than a good trade. I may still get my Lyft entry. Lyft looks very, very bearish here. So that would be nice. And Uber continues to look very, very bearish. I don't know if I want to pull anything up. Budweiser, it typed nicely on a 9 and continues to go down. Yeah, there's a couple of guys here. I don't even know what this is, but I'd be this 9 is kind of in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if we alerted it in a notification service. And yep, AGN is not looking good either. CMF is a complete and utter disaster right now. I would be, I would not want to be holding this stock at the moment. All right, I think that's good. I'm gonna leave it here. Once again, oh wait, that's my profile. There you are. Once again, on this episode, I have been joined by Big Chonis of Chonis Trading. You can check him out on Twitter as Big Chonis. You can also check out his YouTube channel, Chonis Trading. So go ahead. All the links are in the video description, guys. That's it. Check out the Financial Summit in Bali, October 19th to 21st, thefinancialsummit.com, and everything else on the Tone Vase YouTube site. All right, Chonis, any closing thoughts?
This was awesome, Tone. I've watched you for, over 2 years now, and it was always a dream of mine to be appear on your show once and to feel that I could talk eloquently about Bitcoin doing so. So this has been great. I hope people learned something and enjoyed the back and forth we've had. I really try and look at trading Bitcoin from just the average person, the average guy that just wants to be a part of this market. Long term, I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I think the valuation is there to have Bitcoin meet and exceed all-time high levels. I think the scarcity combined with the overall hoarding mentality of our culture will basically create basically scarcity of supply, and that should over time continue to drive the price up. My concern really is that Bitcoin could be an asset for the wealthy in terms of those that were able to get in early and hold, and those that can afford to hold during extreme volatility and still kind of ride the wave. So I'm hoping Bitcoin gives everybody an opportunity to purchase it and hodl it at much lower prices. And I am very comfortable, if you're looking about odds, I am 90% confident that in the out years, in the 2020s and beyond, that Bitcoin can get back over certain price levels that will continue rising, and that being able to hodl any Bitcoin, 0.5, 1 Bitcoin or more, and being able to kind of have that happen this year will be awesome and very profitable and very valuable in the years to come. You just might need to be really patient. And by all means, what I say to traders is don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. And I try and keep my content very educational based and helpful for new traders. When I see notable things on the chart, those are the things I like to talk about on Twitter and share my thoughts with my YouTube audience as well. So once again, Tony, I really appreciate this. This is awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks again for joining me. And just 30 seconds, I believe this was the stock that I was looking for, Bayer AG. It has definitely been beaten up for quite a while. And I mean, to me, it's fallen enough. It has been showing signs of improvement. I like the fact that it's back above its 200-day moving average. This was pretty much a rejection. This is a very clear break above it. There was a recent top on a 9. Beautiful bottom on a 9, even though earnings was the main culprit. The CMF looks great. It just happens to be the only indicator on the mic. Otherwise, I mention others. And it looks okay right here on a weekly scale. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, I would be, I mean, if I held this thing as it was falling, I would not see a reason to sell now. I'd hang in there, and still in a decline, but I think it has a chance to go back into the $20 range. I'm assuming this is the same as the German version. I'll be able to recognize it there. Looks like a German stock, and it looks pretty much the same, so it is the same stock. Wow, look at that. I mean, I love it when you pull up a chart and then you see this 9,
9, 9,
9,
yeah,
and 9. Like it's absolutely amazing sometimes, you know. It's great. All right. enough charting. Hey guys, I am in Dallas, Texas, workshop tomorrow, and then the BitBlock Boom conference. I'll try and interview some people from there. Jimmy will be there, Saifuddin will be there, Pierre Richard, Bitstein. It's gonna be great. All right, see you all in the next one. Once again, Big Chonis, thanks again. I'm sure I'll have you on again one of these days, but I'm gonna try and bring some new traders on so people get their perspective. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Tron. Thanks, Tron.